Welcome, Chris Lemons Radio. We are back with Little Dave for another incredible episode of all things bodybuilding. So, what I thought we would start off this episode with is I ran into this issue a couple times last week, and it's one of those weird topics that it's interesting for me to talk about as a coach, right? Because I think a lot of people sign up to work with me because they respect me, they respect who I've coached, the body of work I've put together, the fact that I came from a John Meadows coaching tree, and they feel this like sense of urgency or a sense of pride in when I'm proud of their effort, right? And yes, I think that is a very powerful tool because honestly, every guy that I've ever worked with, I respected and wanted to give 100% compliance because I felt like I was wasting their time if I didn't. But what I would really encourage everyone watching is if you work with Dave or I or any other coach, do not follow a meal plan. Do not train your face off for us. You got to do it for yourself. And I know no other way around it. Like, as much as I think you enjoy working with me as your coach, I want to believe, and I think I really know this, that you do this for yourself, not for me. And at the end of the day, I believe that that helps and always helped me stay compliant. Is this me is what runs everything. And I know bodybuilding, a lot of people say it's a team sport, and you have other people who say it's just the individual. But at the end of the day, it's me doing the cardio, it's me eating the meals, it's me going until I can't see straight in the gym. And even though, like I said, I had tons of coaches that I respected and wrote incredible programs for me to follow, all of that shit is pointless if I don't execute. And it, I think that's a point that is rarely talked about is, you know, doing this for you. And that's why I think you and I have such an easy time with this. We don't do it for stuff on social media. We don't do it for clout or fucking fame or money. If you take all that shit away, you and I are still going to find ways to get in the gym and train our face off. We're still going to eat our six boring meals because we love it. Like, and again, it's not for anyone else. So it's just a quick little point I'd like to really drive home to everyone is I know even if you work with the OG legends of the sport, Hani, Chris, like in either of those guys, Milos, like all those men garner respect and they can create incredible programs. But if you don't take personal accountability, they're never going to work. And I think at the end of the day, like when you wake up and your feet hit the ground, I pray that you guys find a way to do your cardio for yourself and to eat those meals because you know it's going to make you better. And you train hard as hell because you chase progress and achievement and fulfillment personally, not so the coach can pat you on the back and say, "Great job, Dave. I'm so proud of you." Like, am I proud of my clients? 100% I am. But if that's what you wake up seeking, eventually that's going to go away. And then you're going to be left with no progress. So, you have any
Mhm.
thoughts there?
Oh, that's really well spent. I mean, like it's always the truth is, motivation. Like someone can start, you know, like a fire going, but that fire has to be burnt from you, because like you can always, you could put a lighter up to a piece of dry wood, but like it is, the that's not anything compared to like a blazing inferno of bonfire.
Yes.
Like yeah, a coach can get things moving in the right direction because like you're lost, you need a second set of eyes, you need direction, and like that's like the best thing about bodybuilding with a coach is this is a game of effort and how hard you can push yourself, but effort doesn't matter without direction,
Right. Yeah, agreed.
you know and that can become such a gray area of direction when your brain is not going to be nice to you. you know so like that's where things go in the route, like am I too fat, am I too skinny, am I this or that. It's like, okay, cool, our game plan was to diet, get fat off. All right, we got the fat off. you know Versus like, oh, am I too skinny, am I, it's like, okay, cool, the fat came off.
Right.
Now we need to build muscle onto this
Yep. I've
and
always
move from
thought
there.
this. Like, go ahead. I'm sorry. I interrupt
Oh,
you.
you're good. Yeah.
I always thought my job as your coach and anyone else's is to simply remove worry and stress,
Yeah.
right? Like, let me have all of that burden where it's like, am I too fat? Am I too full? Am I not full enough? Do I need to diet harder? Do I diet more? Do I need to do more cardio? Like I need you, my job as your coach is to remove all that anxiety and you have faith in the fact that I'm going to give you the best opportunities to succeed. And then it comes
Yeah.
down to your execution.
Yeah.
And to me, that's where our coaching dynamic and client dynamic always work in harmony the best. And you know what's really interesting is I remember hiring Shelby, and that was the first nutrition guy I ever worked with. And he had so many great clients at the time. And I was like, I'm not one of those like false bravado guys who's going to tell you I'm the hardest working person on the planet. I just want to show you. And I always felt the need, whether it was Shelby or Matt or John, just to prove myself. Like, and by prove myself, I just meant that I can follow a plan no matter what life throws at me, and that progress will ensue. And that faith and belief in myself is what always drove my ship. Like, hey, Chris, like these men took time to write a plan for you that they believe is going to help you get to the next level. Now show them that you can fucking do this without complaint, without feeling sorry for yourself. Like, and I guess it's where it always led me back to was I'm still trying to prove a point to that 19-year-old kid. Like,
Yeah.
that's who I'm trying to prove a point to. I wanted them to respect my work ethic. I knew that in the grand scheme of life, my physique wasn't sniffing who their best clients were. Like, I mean, all three of them trained Olympians for fuck's sake. All three of them had incredible physiques of their own. Like, and I was paled in comparison to all three of those men. And it's like, I knew I was never going to catch that, but can I earn their respect? And the answer is always yes. So that's kind of how I treated that. So
Yeah.
anyone that
And that, I
listens,
mean, that came down to making a contract with yourself.
yes,
You didn't make
yep,
a contract with Shelby. You did, you obviously got like what the plan was from him,
yep,
but you told yourself, you're like, I'm following this motherfucker.
yep, yep,
I don't give a shit what comes up. Like I have meals 1 through 6 today. I
yes,
have this much cardio and I have this in the gym,
yep, yep,
and those action items happen.
yes, yep,
It's not oh, I didn't feel like it today kind of scenario. It's like when I'm still this way. When I first started working with you, it was like, okay, he told me to do this. And the reason he told me to do this is because I asked him to.
correct, yes,
So this is an extension of myself, my own goals.
right,
How fucking stupid am I to, if that is what I need to do to reach my goals, to not do it?
right, yeah, yeah,
Right? That's like what it came down to. Is like, legitimately, I had a plan set in to reach my goal,
yeah,
and that's what I came to you for.
yes, yeah,
So when I wake up in the morning and I don't want to do cardio, it's fucking written down. I legitimately have cardio today. It was like, okay, cool. It's not if I want to do it or I felt like it. It just happens.
yep, yep,
Like there's plenty of times I did not feel like eating chicken and rice at 10 a.m. You
right,
know,
yep,
we got it done. And then you build habits upon that,
yep,
and that's how you progress and get better.
yeah, yep, agreed. You know, I'll share this story with everyone. I remember I'd sit in my office at Gold's, and the way my meals were is I would have to eat right before I left work in order to get my final meal before bed in before I fell asleep on the couch. So I would remember I'd train all the people all day, and then I'm sitting there in my office and I still remember this meal. It was 10 ounces of cooked turkey, 350 grams of rice, a tablespoon of olive oil, and 4 rice cakes. And listen, at the end of your day, since I've been at the gym at 5, I wanted nothing more to get my ass in the car and drive home. But I knew if I would not, my drive was roughly 20 minutes home. If I was driving, I couldn't get all that food in by the time I got home, which would then put me to sleep 20 minutes later. So I had to sit there in that fucking office and shovel it in with a spoon. And sometimes that was not fast.
Mhm.
I always would think when I'm halfway through that Pirates dish, I think, man, I wonder how many people were throwing this away. Like, and then those thoughts go through your mind like, not today, motherfucker. I gotta check it off. And it wasn't done until every scrap of ground turkey and rice was out of that fucking bowl and scraped into my mouth. And then I would walk to the car eating rice cakes. It's as simple as that. Because I can eat rice cakes driving, that ain't no big deal. Like, but I always just went back to, as you said, when I paid him, that check was fucking cash, man. It was done. You say I
Yeah.
need to eat that food, I'm going to eat every fucking drop of that food. And then if it doesn't give us a desired result, he's going to change my plan. And
Yep.
that's how I always made progress, man. Like, and
Hmm.
I know it's not sexy. I know everyone probably thinks it's fucking some crazy drug or protocol or some stupid shit. I swear to you, the ability to shovel food in when you didn't feel like it is the greatest tool he ever taught me. Like,
Yep.
it's as simple as that. And I know everyone on the internet wants to tell you the fast and easy ways to get huge, but I'm telling you right now, you learn to do that shit that I just described, it will push you way further down that path than learning some fucking secret peptide schedule.
Hmm.
So, all right. So next topic here, off of coaching into, you would text me. You said, I'm amazed by how many people are in prep and justify eating a taco truck.
Yeah. Yeah. That blew my mind. I was at a posing seminar this weekend, and I mean, we got shows happening April 4th and April 26th, I think. So 8 and 11 weeks out.
Yep.
And a lot of these people are here competing in that show. That's why they're at the posing clinic, is because they're competing at that show.
Yeah.
And like, just food for thought. I mean, like, you can do whatever, but like the amount of people like who are in prep and deem that okay to be, all right, cool, I'm gonna go eat out of a taco truck, because either they weren't prepared with their food, what they knew they had to eat because they probably were on a plan,
Right. Yep.
or they put aside their meal plan food and went to the taco truck.
Yep.
Like, if you're in the off season and somehow you left your meal at home, or it's on the fucking counter of your thing, you're like, okay, cool. That's not the end of the world, right? That you could just have a free meal at that point, or get it close, take notes, tell your coach. But free contests, like, are you kidding me? 8 weeks out, like, like, those things, those are such big variables where, like, is that chicken cooked in oil? Does that rice have added butter?
Right.
Shit, is there butter on the vegetables?
Is it
You
chicken
know?
thighs or chicken breast?
Yeah. Is it even chicken?
Yeah. Right. Oh, and by the way, it's not fucking measured.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh,
I don't care how good you are eyeballing, it's not a thing.
no.
I've been weighing my food since, 2011, and I still get it fucking wrong. I'm like, yep, this is 250 grams, and it's like, 180. And I'm like, shit. Yeah.
I'm writing that down as a note. I'm just gonna make that a YouTube video. Measuring to guess my food. Um, and see how close I can get.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Um, it's it's wild because like you said, like I can't remember when I started measuring my food. It was 2000 something before 10. It's before I met John.
Hmm.
And I still measure in 2025. Like every meal is measured.
Yeah.
I think what's the craziest thing to me, right? Are those people are the same ones that are like, oh, my coach had to fucking take my cardio to 2 hours and take my clean to 200 micrograms a day. Yeah, no shit. You're eating out of a taco truck. Like,
Yeah.
and they're
Like,
so
unless all you did was grab a lemon from the salsa thing and put it on your food,
right.
like, outside of that, like, or like maybe salsa.
Yes. Yep. I was always amazed, and this is going to be because I would have to go to a lot of those events with other trainers when I worked at Gold's, right? And I was always amazed by how many trainers didn't bring their lunchbox. And they'd be like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm going to eat my fucking meal. Where's yours? And they're like, oh, we're just going to eat whatever. Okay. Like, you didn't plan your meal? No. You're on a meal plan? Well, yeah, but it is what it is. It's a Saturday. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Oh, so Saturday you can't get fat? Like, the calories don't count on Saturday, the weekend, I guess. Like, it always blew my mind that in an event like that, you would expect everyone to have their coolers with them, and we're gonna
Hmm.
sit around wherever we're at, and everyone's gonna take a meal break. Like, because it's been 2 or 3 hours, and no one's eaten. I assumed everyone will have their water with them and their fucking little case for fucking supplements. Like, It's so crazy to me that even in an event like that, where it's normal to pack your food, people choose not to. Where let's say it's Thanksgiving or Christmas or a work party where you are in an accounting firm, you're atypical. But in an event in a posing clinic, dear God, like, because what I said to you, I was like, man, you're following a better meal plan right now in the all season than these fuckers are 8 weeks out. Like, and then it always is funny to me because those are the same people always wonder why they didn't place well. And like, well, Chris, it's just one meal. Oh, okay, maybe it was their cheat meal. Okay, awesome. Where's your food after that meal? Is it at home? I'm gonna probably assume not. Like,
Yeah.
it's that's I don't know if that's an education or a laziness thing, or just I don't give a fuck. But
Yeah.
uh, I'm sure it's probably person to person. But
Yeah.
if you're my client doing that, please God tell me, like, so we can plan accordingly. Uh,
Hmm. Yeah. Especially if we are in prep and we are doing that, like we need to sit down and have some honest conversations.
and let's say that was you, and you're shredded, covered in veins, 8 weeks out, and they used you as a demonstrator for posing, and they gassed you for like 6 rounds, and you're like, Chris, man, I'm going fucking hypo, and you sent me your photos from the stage, and you're just like ripping through food. I might say, hey, eat that meal and then go out there and dominate that taco truck. But you're never gonna go just fucking smash that in a prep without saying, "Hey, Chris, like, there's a taco truck. I think I need it." Like, knowing you weren't even gonna text me about that shit. You would update me on Sunday and be like, "Hey, uh, I know I'm down on the scale 6 pounds because I did 10 rounds of posing yesterday at a clinic." I'm like, "Okay, we're gonna eat today."
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. Please God, if you're a competitor, just be better, man. Just be better. Yeah, I think we adequately covered that.
Yeah.
All right. So the topic at hand for today, because we didn't get to it to last week's Q&A, is an intermediate off season and how to grow. Where do you want to start? Training, nutrition, supplements?
Training wise, I think that's like always a great aspect to start with because that's
Agreed.
honestly that is the cornerstone of bodybuilding. Without that, nothing else exists.
Yeah, agreed.
You
Yep,
know, like being a calorie deficit or surplus all you want, you're not going to look like a bodybuilder without training.
agreed. All right, so let's switch
So
here. How many? Because that's the number one question is training split, training frequency. How many? What would you say the bottom end number is, and what's the top end number of training days per week?
for off season,
Yes, sir.
bottom end three, top end five.
Agreed. And I think
Um,
four is the sweet spot,
yeah,
honestly.
yeah, exactly. And I mean that's like really hard to sometimes like you have to be patient on for your rest days. And I know like that's like the fun thing is like we all want to be in the gym,
Yes. Yeah.
but like we can't all be in the gym effectively more than 5 times a week.
Agreed. Yeah.
And then that's just a matter of taking notes of how your recovery is and what you do outside of the gym to be able to fix that.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I've been writing a split for some of my guys in the all season, and it's working really, really well. I think I'll share it with everyone. Is we're doing quads and adductors on day one, push day two, off day three. Day four is pull for legs, so it's hamstrings and glutes. And then day four, well, technically day five, but it's only the fourth training day, is a pull day. And then I give them an optional Saturday arm day. So you have your 4 base days. And then if you wake up on Saturday or Sunday morning and you're ready to rip the world apart, go train arms. If you wake up and you feel like you need a break, we take it off. So we're getting split leg days and then push pull. And
Yeah,
that's working really, really well for them. I'm not saying that's the correct split for everyone, by the way. Like if you have dominant legs, by no means listen to that. Um, I will always fall back to the training split, the OG John, which is back, then chest and shoulders, legs, and then arms. Like I think as a whole, unless you just have a glaring weakness, that fits for everyone.
yeah.
Um, any other splits you think you that you like or might want to mention?
honestly, when it comes to just off season, like having fun with it is a little bit kind of the game. Like if you don't like doing it, like if it means you want to do chest and the shoulder day separate, like have at it.
Correct. Yeah.
But like I said, it depends on where your strengths and weaknesses are. Like it makes zero sense if your shoulders are like a super big strength to continue training them twice a week like that.
Agreed. Yep.
If something else is like lagging, but like as long as like you're able to do it and you're having fun with it, that's going to be the biggest thing. Um, but like I've never been a big fan of like the weird like doing arms and legs together. I've seen people do that in the off season. I'm just like, sounds like a terrible day.
Yes. Agreed.
Like you might have a great leg day, but a mediocre arm, like it's gonna suck. Your brain's just not gonna be in that.
No.
And or you're gonna have a great arm day and terrible leg day because that's where your mind's at.
Yeah. Also, I agree.
But
I
like
did this.
it's not one of those things you're gonna have good both.
My buddy and I did a split when we were in college because he wanted better biceps and I wanted better hamstrings. So our Saturday bonus day was hamstrings and biceps. So what we would do is every other week we'd alternate which one we started with.
Oh yeah.
And for hamstrings, it was easy. It was like we would do two leg curl movements and then an RDL. And then for biceps, we would do an alternating curl, a hammer curl, and then some kind of cable, right? And that was actually a ton of fun, but that was a compromise between him and I.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we were training partners and we agreed on every other day, but he was like, man, I want an extra arm day. And I said, well, I want an extra hamstring day. And he's like, well, technically my triceps are huge. So what if we did biceps and hamstrings? I'm like, okay, I'm good with it. And we ran that for probably a year and had fun with it. But
Yeah.
it goes back to your point, right? Like we just had fun. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of other people are doing like upper lower splits right now, like and rotating that twice through or doing like upper, lower, upper, and the next week doing lower, upper, upper, or lower. And that's okay. Like to me, upper bodies is a lot to put in one day. Um,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of intermediate lifters who they want to progress to bodybuilding, like they usually develop very underwhelming arms with that type of split. So just be leery if that's you. Like if your arms are very, let's see, if your arms are under 18 as an intermediate, you need an arm day. I
Yeah.
don't know that's for men, by the way. I'm not saying that's for girls. But if your arm as a man are under 18 and you're intermediate, it's time to have an arm day. I don't care how many people tell you push pull legs is the best. If you love push pull legs, just do push pull legs and then have an arm day. Make that your fourth day. Like that's how I've always looked at it. So,
Yeah.
um, do you prefer as a whole? I know this is generally speaking. Do you like low, moderate, or high volume?
Definitely like I'm definitely a low volume guy.
Okay.
I think
Yes.
that's the most fun. I get I mean doing 4 sets of something is like sometimes mind breaking for me.
The same.
But I mean, I'll have fun with it either way. But like I'd rather do one really, really hard set than 4 moderately hard sets.
Correct. Yes. Agreed.
But I mean, it comes down to some things like I personally think arms are definitely a bigger fan of volume. Like good luck doing like a maximum, like just one really hard set of biceps.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really happen that way. So it's
Agreed.
like, hey, we just do more sets instead of one better one. But so probably moderate. It kind of
Yeah.
totally depends.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. If I'm being brutally honest, I kind of like waving all three. Like
Yeah.
that's
Honestly,
probably
that's what I'm having a blast doing high volume right now.
yeah, oh yeah. Right.
And
It's just good for the body and brain. I swear to
yeah,
you. It's a new stimulus. If anything, it gives you more opportunities to burn through your food to make it easier to eat your meals in the all season. So like if you're struggling with appetite, I've always felt like not everyone can produce the output that you and I might be able to in a singular set. So you have to achieve that through multiple sets. Like you said, like you can either do one hard or a few moderately hard. And that takes some self-reflection and brutal honesty with yourself. Because I really believe this. I don't think everyone wants to fail in a hack squat like you and I do. Like I don't think they're willing to go there. I don't think they want to like see stars and puke in a trash can and be non-functioning for 3 days, or at
yeah,
least that day. So if that's you, you have to come to terms with it and just realize like, hey, there's multiple ways to bodybuild. Like Lee Haney, 8-time Mr. Olympia, said, stimulate, not annihilate. That was his philosophy, and it clearly worked. So if that's for you, just know that, lean towards more volume. But on the other side, if you're one of those guys who are taking a set to the absolute death, crawling out of machines, you got to realize that you can't do that for moderate to high volume on everything. So I
Yeah.
would say waving is probably the best route. Last thing I think here with training in my mind is like, do you think intermediate still fall into that beginner camp where they should be sticking with mostly barbells and dumbbells with machines and cables sprinkled in? Or do you think they should start going towards what we would probably consider a more advanced type exercise selection?
Well, that's like the fun part is like things are always going to work at the base level
Yeah.
versus like I can't tell you how many dudes I see using, your pinkies in, uh, you know, chest flies. They're doing 15 fucking pounds with it.
Yep.
It's like a reason you weigh 145. And so like there's a time and place to switch for sure. Like especially like age considerations and training age for sure.
Yeah.
But like there's never gonna be a bad time to do basic shit.
Agreed.
Like it's laughable how many people like don't do push-ups anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, why would I do push-ups? I have this machine. It's like, go do push-ups as exercise for your chest day.
Yep.
And tell me it's not gonna work. It doesn't do something. And yes, that's actually a really good way to build some volume as well. Cause like, you're using body weight, but you need to have the ability to control and contract before you can, have intensity. So even if that comes for everybody.
Yeah. I think you and I have probably trained with enough people at this time to know that like we've had guys join us where they can sit back with the same weights that you and I may have in our hands, but it doesn't look the same. There's not the same level of control with it. Like when I see you own an incline dumbbell press, I know that you're in control of that weight, even though it looks explosive or is explosive. I guess the better way to say that. Where I think other guys are just pressing it and it's like they're recruiting any muscle possible to move it. And it's like, I always kind of lean on that Dorian Yates thing is can you stop it at both extreme ends and still do the next rep? And if you can do that, that's owning a weight. Now, I'm not saying you have to, but can you? Like,
Yeah.
and
And then some things like honestly, like cats,
mhm, yeah,
that is my favorite thing, just to stop at the end ranges
yes,
and,
agreed.
and actually stop it.
Mhm, yep, yep,
Like go try this. Load up any calf race, legitimately anyone. Bring it down to the bottom, pause. Bring it to the top, pause, and do that doesn't until it doesn't move.
right.
You're gonna find how fast that happens
Yeah, yep,
versus just like the bounce what most people do.
yep, yep. I don't know if you have you watched that gasp training video with Brett Wilkin and Hunter Labrada doing back at that one gym. If you haven't, I highly encourage everyone to watch it. They get on that DY row and they put 4 plates aside. In the precision and accuracy in which Hunter is pulling that both explosively but owning both the full stretch and full contraction is wild to watch. And I think everyone asked, like, wonder why his back came up. You and I have done 4 plates on that DY row. I've never done it to make it look like that. And
Yeah,
for me, that sets something in my brain that's like, okay, I have work to do. I got to get better at this. So it's time to pull some plates off, make it look like that, and then get back to 4 plates. So I, I like you, I think if you're in the intermediate stage, you still need the foundational exercises.
yeah.
And I mean, you and I have listed foundational exercises here for every body part multiple times. It's mostly centered around barbells and dumbbells. Um, Pull-ups, as you said, push-ups. Like I love stretch push-ups. They are an incredible exercise. I do them at least 2, if not 3 times a week or a month for my chest. Um, so yeah, I think you still, in terms of exercise selection, need the basics. And I'm sure people will say, "Oh, Chris, which one?" So let's just roll through them. Like a leg curl, either seated or lying. I don't give a fuck. Whatever one you feel more. And RDLs, whether it be dumbbell or barbell, I don't care. Quads, squats, leg press, hack squat, glutes, lunging, split squatting. If you want to do some glute bridge, by all means, have at it. Shoulders for that portion, I still think you need a dumbbell or a barbell shoulder press. If you don't feel safe kicking dumbbells up, use a Smith machine. Dumbbell side laterals, dumbbell rear laterals. Chest, incline dumbbells and barbells, flat dumbbells and barbells. What else? Back, pull-ups, lat pull downs, barbell rows, T-bar rows, deadlifts, dumbbell rows. Done. Um, you could probably do some traps in there if you wanted, barbell or dumbbell, easy. Arms, dips, skull crushers, JM press, some kind of rope to warm up your elbows, or
Yeah, for sure.
and then biceps, dumbbell curls, hammer curls, dumbbell easy bar preacher curls. Man, you do those and get fucking good at them. You will, I just made you a whole damn workout. Fucking get better. Like,
Yeah,
well, I don't know how much volume or sets to do. Fuck it, man. 2 to 3 sets of those and just take it to the end. As close as you can get to
yeah,
it. Yeah. I named what, 3 to 5 exercises per body part?
yeah,
Listen, my old leg days with John looked like this when I started with him, and I would consider myself an intermediate. It was leg curl, squats, leg press or hack squat, and then RDL. Those four things. Take them to the end. And guess what? My leg did this.
yeah,
Pretty fucking simple, man. Rep ranges, I think as a whole, what I mean, I would say 6 to 20,
yeah,
20, like depending upon the body part.
yeah.
Any other thing training wise that you can think of off the top of your head?
No, outside of that, that's pretty much it. Like making sure, like obviously, effort's going to be the paramount key here.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
there's no magic number. Like, oh, I got 8 reps, my muscle's going to grow. Like, that's I think so lost in today's society because we're all looking for, you know, technical things, the hack or the secret. And in reality, your muscle knows zero numbers, doesn't know what reps are. It just knows tension, stimulus,
Yes. Yep.
So like find ways to make things terrible,
Yeah.
right? Like doing the negative part of a dip make it harder?
Right.
Cool, get good at it.
Yep.
You know, what does pausing my deadlifts before they hit the floor, does that make that harder? Cool, run with it.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
it's not always about adding weight either, just like that. It's like, what happens if how can I make this more effective for me? Like, are my squats, is my torso straight up and down, or am I completely hinged at the hip?
Right.
It's like,
Yep.
okay, fix that. Then let's go from there.
Yep. And a lot of times that may take you removing a plate or a quarter from each side to do that
Yeah.
properly.
Yeah.
Um, which is why I think the final thing I'll say with training is film your sets. I'm not saying every fucking set, dear God, don't do that.
Yeah.
Just a couple of workout or maybe a couple of months is probably the better answer into seeing if you're seeing progress because we can all track weight, but if we went from squatting 315 to 405, but my range of motion got shallow by 3 inches, that's not a win in my book. Like you just cheated your way to 405. Now go back to 3 plates, get that depth back, and then start progressing off of that. I mean, dear God, I'm 20 years into this shit, and I filmed my hack squat last week and was thoroughly disgusted by one of my reps because I fucking cheated. Like, I think so many people like don't want to see that because they're scared of what they might find, right? Like, oh, I pause those reps in the hole, and you watch it back, and it's like this.
Yeah.
It may have felt like a pause in the moment, bro, but it wasn't. Like, I think sometimes that's why I share that because I think, so many people view Instagram as this like massive highlight reel. Like, oh, Chris never fucks up in the gym. Man, I fuck up just as much as everybody else. Like,
Hmm.
but it's do you mess up and then go back next week and fix it? And to me, like, I'm excited to go train quads on Friday because I know like I'm gonna have that battle with that hack squat again and I'm not gonna miss that rep.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right.
Very true.
Yeah. Food. Um, I know probably one of the most asked questions is how many meals should I eat, Dave?
And so that's always a fun, but like honestly, like most people, it's going to be like 6. You know, like a lot of you may have a weird like I've had a couple people who have like I have a surgeon who legitimately 3 days a week he's doing surgery for 6 hours. You know, because we work around. He can't leave. Like he has to be like sterile, so he can't like eat a meal because like he can't touch his face. Like he basically eating power wash to go do surgery.
Right.
You know, so like there's times like you obviously have to work around. There's no way he's gonna get 6 meals in. You know, but we make it work. You
Yeah.
know, the I think the biggest thing with the nutrition is matching your diet to your training.
Yeah. Agreed.
Right. So if you're doing high volume like Jay Cutler's a great example of how you eat for high volume. A lot
Yep.
of carbs, a lot of protein, almost no fats,
Correct. Yep.
right? Because he's just fueling his workout there,
Mhm.
right? So if you're super low volume, you probably need a little bit less carbs, maybe have some fats for the calories, but a different breakdown
Yes.
because you're like you don't need a 1,000 grams of carbs if you're doing 4 sets for body part,
Right.
you
Yep.
know.
I think, you know, I've had so many people ask me, Chris, what's a magic number with 6 meals in bodybuilding? And to me, the simple answer is if I'm going to use the most random or the most basic, easy to understand equation, if I have to get 300 grams of protein in a day, it's easy to divide six by 300 and get 50 grams per meal.
Mhm.
So 50 grams of meat is going to be roughly 200 grams on the scale. It's going to give you 49 grams of protein, right? So most people don't want to eat more than 7 ounces of cooked meat in a sitting.
Yeah,
Like, well, if I shorten that meal frequency to five, now I have to increase that protein per meal. And then can you get all those down in five serving or five eatings per day, feedings per day, however you look at that?
yeah,
So it just comes down to logically what makes the most sense. And if you're in an all season trying to grow, and let's say I'm having 80 to 100 grams of carbs per meal, if I'm having to eat 9 ounces of meat, that becomes tough.
yeah,
So it becomes logical to eat more frequently as opposed to more voluminous. So that if you're someone with a huge appetite, that may not be an issue. If you're someone who is struggling to find their way to eat, then that's going to be more tricky. So to me, like I always like to look at where your total numbers are and then you divide that by six and then see what each meal is going to be if you're doing like just rough calculations. That's going to be how I would kind of start to determine that. And then, as you said, like factoring into your lifestyle makes a lot of sense too, right? It's way easier for most people to think if I eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then have two shakes, and that's 5 meals. Okay. So that's five feedings per day. And then to me, I'd always want to logically add the six and just eat right before bed. So that was going to help me sleep better because my stomach's full. And I don't know, I've always just, as a bodybuilder, is eating right before bed. A lot of times my last meal used to come in the bed, for Christ's sake. It used to be with Shelby, it was 6 whole eggs, 4 slices of Ezekiel bread, and 30 grams of whey isolate. And man, the amount of times Angel would be like, "Oh my God, if you get crumbs in this bed one more fucking time." Because I would make egg sandwiches. I'm
yeah.
just sitting there smashing them, eating food off of a fucking paper plate like a fucking pig. So, like, it's one of those things. It logically choosing meals to me come around that and your schedule and your ability to eat in a given setting, like meaning
Yeah.
one time of the day. So,
And then I mean with off season too, like paying attention with not compounding meals is so big. Like that one always makes me laugh sometimes when I get like check-ins at like 11 and it's like, are you really starting your day here? Because now you got 5 or 6 meals ahead of you and you have to eat every hour and a half if you're gonna go it's like every single one of those is compounded,
correct. Yeah.
like there's a reason why you're putting on body fat faster
Yes. Yep.
because your blood glucose never came down.
Uh-uh. No. Yeah, I never had a dip. I think that's one of the things that always helped me at bodybuilding because I was always an early riser. Even as a kid, I'd wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
So it was when I was starting bodybuilding and I didn't have to, I never did cardio, obviously, 'cause I didn't need it because I was skinny. It's like, oh, I had my first meal in me by 6:30 a.m. I was like, okay,
yeah,
awesome. I'll eat again until 9:30, and then I can eat at 12. It's noon. I've had 3 meals in me and I'm cruising. Like, hell yeah, I'm halfway to my day. Where, like you said, if you're not getting up until 11 and then you got to do cardio, your first meal, good luck getting that thing in before noon. Like even if you have cardio at home, by the time you make it, prepare it, eat it. So then it's like, well, what time do you got to stay up to? Even if you ate it 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, where's your workout going to fall in there?
Yeah. Oh, and then my favorite one is like someone's gonna say it. They're gonna be like, "Well, why don't you just make your meals larger?" And it's like, good luck,
Right.
right? For breakfast, you want me to eat, 6 ounces of chicken and 2 cups of egg whites and 3 whole eggs
Right.
with 200 grams of carbs,
Right.
and then repeat that meal, and then have another meal in 2 hours.
Right. Yeah, good
Like,
luck. Yeah. Your stomach is going to be pregnant all day.
yeah.
And then, oh, and
Oh,
then
and
you got to go
good luck
train legs
training.
later. Yeah. All that food is going to end up in the toilet real quick. Yeah. And again, that goes back to, another common bodybuilding thing is, oh, well, bodybuilding ruined my digestive system. No, bro, that was on you.
Yeah,
Like, because I mean, I think a lot of guys who are hardcore, like they're like, fuck it, Dave, just blend your meals and drink them. Okay, awesome. Then what that's going to do to your long-term digestion and like, hey, you just got to wake up early. Like, or I'm not saying that everyone has to follow that schedule, wake up at 6. I'm not saying you have to do that. But if you're gonna not start meal one till 10 a.m., you better be prepared to stay up till 2 a.m. It's kind of how
yeah.
I look at that. Like, I know everyone has alternate schedules. So it just depends on how you want to do it. Like on the flip side, I've had guys who have a huge appetite and they're trying to lose weight and they're like, man, I ate my first meal at 5 a.m. And I'm like, man, why? You're not gonna have food after 5 o'clock and then you got to just sit there and suffer. No, you don't want to do that.
Yeah,
That's gonna be a long night of staring at the ceiling.
yeah. That's well, like that's a fun problem because like I almost always wake up starving when I'm in prep.
Okay, yeah, same.
And like I can definitely like usually when I'm in prep, I'll wake up, get a cup of coffee going, you know, do my cardio, drink the coffee, and then try to take my time.
Yes.
Like and then have meal one and hopefully it's like before it's still before 8 a.m.
Yes. Yeah. 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 And this is like my neurotic, crazy brain. Always think, especially like if it was an off day, and it's like, ooh, I want to let that GH get in there fasted and stay there as long as human possible.
Yeah,
Like, just let it eat all my fat up.
yeah,
You know, you and I both know it probably doesn't work quite like that, but in my brain, those are the kind of like weird jokes where like, oh, if I can hold meal one off till 9 o'clock and I shot growth at 5, like that's 4 fucking hours. I'm gonna
yeah.
be a fat burning machine. So yeah. All right. Next thing, I think logically, like what you have to come to terms with is in the off season as an intermediate, protein needs to be the foundation of how I look at a meal plan. All 5 or 6 times you eat that day, you have to have, I would assume, anywhere between 40 to 60 grams of protein, depending on your size. Um, and those are from sources, chicken, beef, fish, turkey, whey isolate, egg whites, whole eggs, steak, ground beef, salmon, all that kind of stuff. Um, the next thing I think tends to be trickier is carbs. So, do you want to talk about like how you would think about carbs for someone who is super lean in the off season trying to get big versus someone who needs to add muscle but they're already kind of high body fat?
So someone who's lean trying to get big, I'm just gonna like if I have never worked with them before, I'm just gonna see what happens. Right? I'm gonna set their protein just like you said, somewhere between 40 and 60 grams. And then I'm just gonna take usually their body weight and times it by two and start them with that many carbs. So if they weigh 200 pounds, they're having 400 carbs a day.
Yep.
And I'm gonna see what happens. I'm gonna
Yep.
see how they adjust to that. And if usually we take that north,
Yeah, agreed.
usually that comes up north pretty fast.
Yeah.
Right. But it's just a matter of like, have they ever eaten that many before? Like I'm not going to start them off 700 a day, even though they probably could handle it. Sometimes it's a matter of being like mentally doing it.
Correct.
And then fats are going to be, between 5 and 10 grams per. Usually start that on the lower sides and watch appetite.
Yes. Agreed.
A lot of the times, guys who are, along but are also skinny and lean, they don't like food.
Agreed.
So appetite sometimes is a hard one to come by versus like a lot of like I've had some clients who they started out a little bit on the softer side and then came down. Now they're lean, but their appetite is wild,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
you know. And like managing that's another side of the coin because it's like they're off season. They're like, I ate a meal, hour and a half later, I'm hungry, so I had some cookies, and then I also ate my meal. Like, and it's like Jesus Christ, like, you know,
Both those scenarios are tough, right? Because you
yeah,
have people who's like, Chris, I'm full to my throat, and it's like, man, you have 3,000 calories on your plan. Like we aren't sniffing where you need to be for growth. Like,
yeah,
and listen, I relate to that so much because that was me, right? Like I remember sitting down to meals and just being like, fuck, this is not easy. But if you just keep digging your heels in, you find a way to get it down and you learn how to. I think that whole process of like intermediate to advanced really gets expedited when you learn how to cook.
yeah.
When you,
That's another thing I've been doing every once in a while is I'll just have people send me photos of their meal.
right.
And with that, like there's a scale like 1 to 10.
Mhm.
Like 10 is I'm buying this at a restaurant and I'm gonna pay money for it.
Right. Yeah.
And one is like if I got this handed to me, I would throw it away.
Right. Right.
You know, and it's like I need things to be above 5.
Yes. Agreed.
You know,
Yep.
if you don't know how to make it above 5, we're gonna watch YouTube videos on how to cook food and do it that way. Because if you're only eating boiled chicken and plain rice, you're gonna burn out so fast.
Agreed.
But like if you the difference between like boiled chicken and white rice only versus like teriyaki stir fried chicken
Yes.
is a matter of like no added calories.
Agreed.
Soy
Yep.
sauce has no calories in it. Obviously, it has salt,
Yep.
right? Maybe some vegetables, so we're talking 20 calories,
Right. Yeah.
and the ability to use a pan.
Yes. Yep.
And that meal went from being shitty to being phenomenal,
And you know
you
what's
know?
funny about that is the time it took to prepare that may have been 5 more minutes, but the speed at which you can eat that is probably 20 minutes difference. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like I've eaten some shitty meals before that take forever to get down. And then the way I think you and I cook our food now, man, we can smash through that shit and not even blink. And it's like, hold on, did you just eat 8 ounces of fucking meat, 300 grams of rice, and 200 grams of fruit with a tablespoon of olive oil? Like, yeah. Now it's
yeah,
5 minutes. Yeah. Because it tastes good.
yeah. And that's one thing too. It's like you don't always need to be home for that. Like
Right. Yeah.
you can definitely do plan that ahead. Like for years, I legitly would make the night before, I would make 4 meals so I could take to work with me. And I would eat up to meal 4, then drive directly to the gym, come home, make meals 5 and 6, and then the next 4 meals for the next day.
Yep.
And meal 1, legitly, I turned into a protein pancake
Right.
for
Yep.
years. And like I would just eat that on my drive to work.
Yep.
But like, how much easy, like, that's convenient. Like, you don't need I would just pull it out of a Ziploc bag,
Yep.
and eat it with my hands
Yep.
driving to work. And it's like, time efficient, also tastes good,
Yep.
you know, and, you know, the addition of like sugar free syrup, that meal is phenomenal,
Yep. Yeah.
and I look forward to every single one of those meals. Yes, they may have been a lot at sometimes,
Yeah.
but it was just a matter of the time I put to prep them.
Yeah.
If I just went in and I was like, all right, cool. And that meal was, a cup and a cup and a half of egg whites, 2 or 3 whole eggs, 80 grams of oatmeal and a banana or like 100 grams of banana, right?
Yep.
If I just tried to prepare that and like, I'm not going to be able to eat that on my way to work.
No.
I'm not going to be able to eat cooked oatmeal and a plate of egg whites separate. So
No.
it's like obvious you have to find some ways to do it, but there's nothing wrong with taking those ingredients and turning it into something. I didn't add anything. I just legitimately added it all to a blender, did that, and then put the peanut butter on top of it.
Yep. Yep. Easy. Yeah. And it's those little things I think that make all of this less cumbersome. Because listen, as I think you and I have come across very determined clients who are willing to do whatever it takes, but eventually that spark dies, right? Like I had a young kid, I mean, man, for 5 years, he was the most hardcore I'd ever seen. And then he just hit a wall. And it was like he didn't want to look at bodybuilding food. He didn't want to train bodybuilding food. He didn't want to do jack shit because it had been too much. Because he didn't take the time to find out to do those things how he loved. right?
Mhm.
And he was just doing it to get an end goal. And when that end goal wasn't close after 5 years, he was like, fuck, I gotta do this for five more. And I'm like, yeah, probably. And he just tapped out. Like,
Yeah.
and that's crazy to think about where, I think when you hear you and I talk, we're like, man, that's another day in a life. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be any other way. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, yeah, learning to cook is huge. Adding, sauces and flavorings and uh salt and pepper and not being scared of seasonings. And listen, neither you or I are big vegetable guys, but that turkey meal that I eat, I put, I don't know, probably 75 grams of carrot and pepper in there, and it makes the world of difference for me. Like, could I eat the chicken and rice with the seasoning on it? Yes. Or sorry, turkey and rice and seasoning? Yes. But there's something about those peppers and carrots and the parsley I put on top that makes it just 10 times more palatable. And anytime we travel or I have to go somewhere, man, I eat that bitch cold and it's still delicious.
Yeah.
Like, so,
And it's just finding your systems and working around it,
correct.
because it's like, just like in prep, like I know I'm not going to be able to make that protein pancake forever because I'm not going to have any fucking oatmeal,
Right, right.
you know? But like, cool. There's times I've legitimately just taken egg whites and cooked them in a muffin pan.
Yeah.
So I have like, little bites of egg whites I can still eat in my fucking car,
Mhm.
and those aren't terrible,
No, they're pretty
you
good.
know?
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's just like finding things what you can work with, what you enjoy, and still follow your plan. And that's where, I mean, this is not a short game at all. Like bodybuilding is never going to be a 12-week sport. It 20 pounds of added muscle doesn't happen today.
No.
That happens. It happens every day with your actions, though.
Yes.
It's the waking up, doing your cardio, eating meals 1 through 6, and also going to the gym. And that's where bodybuilding happens is the day to day. But the results and the payoff you get from bodybuilding does not happen day to day. I
No.
mean, we're in the perfect scenario. You're adding grams of muscle to your body every day. Grams, like legitimately, go take a penny and throw it on a scale,
Right. Yeah.
and you do that every day. And 365 days later, that's a fuck ton of pennies.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
Agreed.
but every day you don't do that, you're not putting a penny there,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
and that's where bodybuilding happens.
Yes. And you know what's funny is, I don't think anyone probably appreciates that story as much because they've never had to eat 80 grams of raw measure oats in a bowl in the off season when you're full. Like
Yeah,
eating those 80 grams of oats in a pancake is way simpler. Trust me. Like you figure the pancake's probably here, it's probably that thick. Like with some syrup on it, man, you can eat that in 5 to 10 minutes tops. Where if you made that meal you described, that's at least 25 minutes for most guys. At
yeah,
least. So word to the wise, like compounding your food makes a lot of help. I think for nutrition, the final thing I want to really talk about here, well, I need to touch on fats first. So fats, like it's tricky because if fats really slow your digestion, you can't have too many of them. If you're needing a lot of calories, though, fats are an easy way to get them.
yeah,
So it's a fine balance of like how much fat to do, and then experimenting with which fats turn over faster in your stomach. Like I know, for example, coconut oil, olive oil, and avocado oil are they and almond butter threw me in a heartbeat.
yeah,
You give me peanut butter, and my digestion says that. It's
yeah. Well, it's like the same thing, like grass-fed butter.
yeah, right,
Like, well, most people, you can try this. Go take that before you go to the gym. Like, swap out your almond butter. I'm not saying to have a terrible workout, but that
right,
one, like, if you pay attention to how much that longer that takes you to digest, like, normally I eat a meal and an hour later, I'm like, yeah, I can train. You take that same meal and you take the olive oil or the almond butter out and you put it for like regular ass butter,
right.
still just a fat,
Yes,
right?
yep,
And you're going to be an hour and a half later and you're like, how is this food still stuck in my stomach?
right.
And then 2 hours later you're going to go train. You're going to have a fine workout,
Yeah.
but like the time frame of that changes a lot.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That speaks to the importance of meal selection or food selection, right? Where it's like the difference between white rice versus brown rice. So white rice all day long. like the
Yeah.
difference between regular potato versus sweet potato, and then on that, the difference between rice and potato, like, or then you start factoring things like cream of rice versus oatmeal or Ezekiel bread or sourdough bread. Like the only way you're going to learn what foods to choose and work well for you if you just try them all. I was just listening to the Fouad podcast with Stefan, and he was talking about using buckwheat to carb guys up. Man, I try buckwheat and it makes my stomach fucking ache. Like, and he's
Yeah.
using buckwheat with some of the best guys in the world, where it's like, I guarantee for some of his clients that doesn't work. Like,
Yeah.
you know, for me, rice products tend to digest way better than potato. If I want something to keep me full through the night, I'm gonna have potato for my final meal with a steak, and man, I'm gonna be golden. Where if I had chicken, rice, and olive oil, come midnight, I'm gonna be wide awake, like fuck, I'm hungry as hell.
Yeah.
So, like food experimentation, I think goes a long way. And then I think the final thing with food I want to touch on here is like being smart because you'll see a lot of guys use like a lot of Greek yogurt. And if that starts giving you like terrible gas and stomach pains, man, you got to cut that shit out. I know it's easy to suck down tasty Greek yogurt over egg whites or chicken or even a protein shake, but be leery of that. Things like cereals, I don't mind post lift, but man, think about this. If you want garbage food, it's going to give you a garbage physique. I really believe that in my heart.
Yeah.
There are some fun things that you and I do with your nutrition. I've had pretzels in your plan. I've had cereal. I've had Rice Krispie treats.
We
Like,
had sherbet for a while.
right. But that's like one meal of the
Yeah.
day. And it's usually post lift where it's
Yeah.
like, nah, we can get away with some things here. He just trained his face off. If a majority of your plan comes from that, it's going to give you a really weird bad look. I know
Yeah.
they're convenient. I know they're easy. It's way easier to suck a Nutri-Grain bar down than it is to eat rice and some nuts.
Yeah.
And it's tasty, but as a whole, it's not going to be the long-term suggested use, in my opinion. Anything else, man, you think that would really wrap up this like intermediate lifter thing? Like maybe ways to graduate to advanced might be a way to go next. I don't know.
That would be probably the how well you can follow that meal plan
Agreed.
and
Agreed.
or your ability to pivot on that meal plan. That is one thing I see so many people struggle with. They wake up in the morning, they're like, all right, time to make my eggs and egg white meal. They open up the counter, there's no eggs or egg whites. They're like, donuts it is.
Yeah, McDonald's, here we go.
Yep. It's like, all right, cool. Why don't we just do it's not going to be fun, but why don't we just eat chicken for your protein source for, breakfast? Does that have to be weird? No. People like steak and eggs is super common,
Well,
you know? Like oatmeal and chicken may not be the best combination, but it gets the job done,
right. Yeah.
And being able to pivot that way where, because I can't tell you how many times like you go to the store and you're like, all right, they do not have 99.1 turkey.
Right.
If it was like, oh, I'm not just gonna miss a meal because the grocery store's out of shit.
Right.
It's like, oh man, what else could I have, right?
Yep. Yep.
You're gonna make it work, and learning how to pivot is what is gonna set you apart, because that's the nice thing about it. In a without anything in life, bodybuilding is crazy simple. When you add life in and keeping your bodybuilding as well, that's where you're gonna have to learn how to, do things on the fly. Like, oh, you got stuck at work a little bit later. How are you gonna get meal forward if you didn't have it?
Yep.
You know, what ways are you prepared for that?
Yes. That what you just said there was perfect. And I think a great way to end it is like your ability to find substitutions to where you don't miss. Like if I write lying leg curls in your plan and there's a group of four guys on the lying leg curl, you're going to go do seated.
Mhm.
Like, not a big deal. You're not going to message me in a panic and be like, Chris, I can't do lying leg curl. Someone's on it. I'm like, is there a seated or a standing around? You're like, yeah, it's right over there. No one's on it. Like, yeah, go hit that, bro. You're going to be good. Like, you know, I'm going to say this and I'm going to share this. It's really funny. Like when Dorian Hamilton was really popular with doing nutrition plans, he used to put two whole eggs with chicken breast for breakfast. I've been doing that shit for years, and people are like, "Man, look at this new thing Dorian's doing with people." I'm like, "Oh, chicken eggs? Yeah, I've been doing that for fucking years, bro."
I
Like,
I do that all the time. I get sick of egg whites
yep,
so fast, but I never get sick of eggs. So it's like, all right, cool. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Chicken eggs.
Right. Yep.
Yeah,
To me, like eggs and chicken, and then you have like a carb source that's on the sweeter side goes really well. So if you do like oatmeal and make it like pumpkin or cinnamon, or if you do like Ezekiel bread and put some like sugar-free jam on it, or do bowl of gains, all that to me goes really well. It's like sweet and savory. It's
yeah,
delicious. Um, so yeah, I mean the ability to pivot, I think time is how you get to the advanced level, right? Like so
yeah,
you learn to do all these things that we just described, which sound easy when it comes out of our mouth, but application to your daily life makes it way more difficult. And just doing it for 5 to 10 years, and the next thing you know, you're like, man, I have, as what you and I always refer to as a system that's effective. And it doesn't matter
yeah.
if we're traveling, it doesn't matter if it's Christmas or our birthday or a normal Wednesday. Like we have 6 meals. We may or may not have to train. We may or may not have to do cardio. Like,
Well, it's like the wrestlers who are really good, right? It's not that they're really good because they have some secret hack or some secret trick. It's they've done a single leg takedown 10 million times, and they've had people try to single leg takedown them 10 million times. They know what it looks like.
yep,
They're not just going in there and they've only been in wrestling practice for a week. You know, they know what's going to happen when they do this or that because they've done it.
right. Yep,
It's a matter of experience.
yep. You know, I just watched a really cool segment with Tom Brady, and he said that one of the reasons why he always performed so well in the Super Bowl was because he had 2 weeks to prepare. And he said, I knew whichever defensive player I looked at, it was going to give me 3 to 4 cues. And then before the play was even snapped, I knew exactly what they were going to do 98% of the time. So, what does that say to me? Preparation is king.
Yep.
And that's the reason you and I always bang on it. He was not a genetically gifted quarterback in terms of being a human specimen. He developed a brain and a body through time, energy, and effort that made him the greatest. Like,
Yep.
you know, he didn't come out of the womb being able to throw a 80-yard touchdown pass. He wasn't running 4.4 in the 40. Like, he was a slow white dude. Guess what? I don't have the physical traits. This right here has to be the strongest muscle in my body. And then what happens when you cultivate that over 20 plus years of work? You win multiple Super Bowls. Like, so take home lesson there is each progressive week that you do this, you learn something and get better at it. And then just keep stacking those weeks. And the next thing you know, you'll be like me and be 40 and be like, fuck, man, I think I have a solution for almost every damn near problem that gets thrown at me.
Yeah.
And then that's when you can start coaching people. So
Very true.
I think that's all things intermediate bodybuilding. If we left anything out, post them in the comments below. We can dig in next Monday or Tuesday whenever Dave and I film. And until next time, Chris, Dave, we are done.